It's a terrific little thriller. It's not horror. It's a thriller in the tradition of Alfred Hitchcock and like 70s and 80s Brian De Palma. And I play the old projectionist at the Suburban Mall Cinema. And as they say in England, I've been made redundant, which is their way of saying I've been laid off. And I have to wait for my retirement, shoveling popcorn in the lobby. And I volunteered for sleeping the last show. And I have my revenge. Anyway, check it out. Fear Clinic's out now too, if you guys like down and dirty horror. Thomas Dekker is great in it. Corey Taylor from Slipknot shows up. And their lovely Fiona Dourif. Daughter, I'm going to say daughter of Frankenstein. Daughter of Chucky. Daughter of Chucky, Fiona. Fiona was working on a great cable series, Deadwood. And I heard all these great rumors about how talented and gifted she was, and I finally got to work with her. So those are the new ones. Funhouse, I just shot it around the corner in Ohio. That'll be out probably next year as well. And I'm waiting to hear about a new project, which I will tweet about as soon as I find out it's final. I don't want to jinx myself. But for those of you that follow my tweets, I'm the anti-snark. I'm Mr. Positive. I just talk about all of the little great actors and actresses that I discovered on The Late Show and on cable and on television, and that I work with that I think are really, really good and that you have to check out. So now we should get into Q&A. I don't know which microphone that anybody wants to come up and ask me anything that you have. We got to have you at the mic so we can hear you. Here we go.
First off, I'm a big fan. The first thing I got to see you in was Phantom of the Opera.
Thank you.
And a few years ago, I just found out that there was supposed to be a sequel. It never happened for some reason. Can you tell me why it didn't happen and what it was supposed to be about?
Well, I did Phantom of the Opera to do the sequel. There was a two-part, and there was a package. I'm not sure. I believe it was the disintegration of 21st century films and canon films. There was a split between the relatives. I can't remember whether they were brothers or nephews, producers. The sequel for Phantom of the Opera is contemporary. And Eric Dessler, the Phantom, is living in the bowels of Manhattan, beneath the surface of the city in the catacombs that some of you might be familiar with from the Guillermo del Toro film.
Sorry, let's get into it.
And down, down, down below the surface of the streets of New York in an abandoned 19th century train car lives
She dropped her sippy cup.
Helper, who's like what they used to call when they found these people in New York years ago, the mole people. But they live underground, the homeless people that live beneath the surface of the streets and the warm ducts that line the city. And he's my helper, so I'm kind of like Faded in Oliver Twist, and he's my helper. He's my boy that goes up and brings me food and things. And one day, I'm walking in the tunnels beneath the surface, and I hear this voice, and there's a beautiful girl singing, and it's the voice that I need for my music, for my great work that I'm composing. And I go up. And I see her, and she's a blind girl singing in the subway because of the acoustics. And her father, an old Italian immigrant, is playing the violin to accompany her. And her father is set upon by skinheads, and he's killed. I pursue the skinheads, and I get them, and I take care of her, and I give her my music, and she's going to be this voice that will make my music come alive. And she begins to sing a couple of my songs in the subway. And she's discovered by the New York City Opera. And they take her away from me. And they debut her in Manhattan, and she's a sensation. And she has all this money now, and she has an eye operation. And she gets her sight back. And the last image of the movie is me in the snow. 4 in the morning, after she's had her debut at the New York City Opera, when she has her eyes restored, and I'm hiding in the wrapped in a very junky scarf. And I leave and I walk down Fifth Avenue and I pry open a manhole cover and I go back underneath the city streets. I never got to make that movie. That was the bookend. I know, because these two brothers split up. But anyway, yeah, that's why I did Phantom of the Opera, because the first one was Dwight Little and I's our nod, our salute to the great Hammer films of the 1960s. Hey, let's hear it for the late, great Christopher Lee. I had arranged for Christopher to star in a movie I was directing in Italy. I'd had many lunches with Christopher in London, and I was on a jury with Christopher in Brussels at the film festival there. 3 weeks watching movies with Christopher Lee and having lunch, the 3-hour lunch, the 2 martini lunches every day, and just finally gathering his confidence up and getting him to really open up and tell me all the stories about the man with the golden gun, you know, and Hobbit stories, and he doesn't talk much about the Hammer films, but he had great stories. But anyway, so when we did Phantom of the Opera, the original, it was our attempt with saturated color and everything, and by transposing it from the Paris Opera to the Opera of London in the 1890s, because Jack the Ripper is creeping around. You know, it's the same kind of setting from my favorite new TV show, Penny Dreadful. That great moment in London, that crazy Jack the Ripper moment. And so we wanted to do an homage to the films that he and I had seen in the drive-in movies as teenagers, you know, making out with a girl in the back seat, you know, and on our way to second base, and then all of a sudden deciding we preferred Barbara Steele. Being tortured on the screen by Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing or Herbert Lom or whichever great character actor was out there at the time. And then we were going to do the sequel as this massively romantic film, you know, although it had its share of violence in it as well. Anyway, that's the whole truth. The only anecdote that I haven't told you is my leading lady in Phantom of the Opera, the lovely Jill Schoen, was in a great little horror film called The Stepfather that you guys might like with the wonderful actor from Lost. That's where he was discovered, actually. But Jill Schoen had starred and had love affairs with 2 of her leading men just prior to me. One was Keanu Reeves, and the other was Brad Pitt. So I can say I shared a leading lady with Keanu and Brad. Next question.
First I just want to say, what you've done for the whole genre is amazing. You made it okay to laugh at the slasher killer. So, I mean, before that, nobody ever did it. Just gotta say, awesome, kudos to you. My question goes like this. The internet today, you can't hide any stories, anything. So, you heard about all the possible Freddy movies that were out there. The prequel to Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy versus Jason versus Michael, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. What was the one Freddy story that never got told that you would have liked to have told?
There was a prequel script, this is true. And Freddy versus Jason versus Ash almost happened. But you see, when New Line was sold to Time Warner had already, New Line had already taken on the rights for Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday the 13th. The goal was to reboot 3 franchises, and that was given by Time Warner to Platinum Dunes, which is Michael Bay. And so they will probably reboot all those 3 franchises for a new audience. That's the goal. The one that I heard about, I've never read it, but I heard about it, it was a prequel to Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was called Krueger, The First Kills. And it was Freddy without the makeup, killing the children, much like the pilot for Freddy's Nightmares, directed by Tobe Hooper. So you saw Freddy as a serial killer with the first children, his first victims. Then he's caught by the police, thrown in jail, and here are the stars of this movie. It's not Freddy. The stars of the movie are the lawyers who get him out. And they were like the creepiest, sweatiest, ambulance-chasing lawyers you've ever seen in the history of movies. Great parts, kind of of a Heckle and Jekyll of law, you know, just these creepy guys, but they manipulated the system. So the trial, the whole middle third of the movie is the trial. And it's these horrible lawyers winning. And you have to understand, now this is back when this was supposed to happen. It was closer to the time of the O.J. trial. So there was a little bit of a theme here about the legal system in America being exploited. But you'd see me in jail, you'd see me on the stand, you'd see me in the courtroom, and then these lawyers. And then the end of the movie is I get out, Freddie gets out, and he gloats, and he does a talk show, or a radio show, or a morning show, and then he goes back about his business, and of course the vigilante parents burn him alive, and that's the end of the film. But I had heard that they had given it to the great director John McNaughton, who did Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, the best documentary ever done. Oh, if you haven't seen it, Michael Rooker is the star from Walking Dead. And I just saw a movie 2 days ago on cable starring Michael Shannon and Samantha Morton called The Harvest. And it's also directed by John McNaughton. It's brand new. And this is a creepy movie with the doctor as your evil character. And Samantha Morton is phenomenal in this movie. So John McNaughton is still just rocking it, you know. But that's the one I would have done, the prequel. I would have loved to have been asked to do that. Dye my hair red again, you know. Krueger, the first kills. Next question.
Just want to start by saying I'm a huge Freddy fan.
I can tell by your t-shirt, punk.
At one time, I was reading an article about you and Bruce Campbell getting together and doing a movie, and I was just wondering, you still talk to him about putting something together, or if you'd ever entertain the fact, or ever entertain the idea of putting all that on again?
Well, that was Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. And what happened with that, the reason the kibosh was put on that is Sam Raimi was God in Hollywood after Spider-Man, you guys. He had more money than any, you know, he was really powerful. And the script or the idea or the pitch came to New Line, and everybody was kind of up for it, you know. I thought it was a great idea. And Sam wanted Ash to win, which again I thought was a terrific idea because I could see the poster, you know, Bruce Campbell, you know, with airbrushed abs, and Jason in a headlock and Freddy in a headlock, and they would say, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, keeping the world safe from sequels. But they wanted Ash to win, and of course, as you guys know, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is the most successful of all franchises. New Line Cinema wasn't about to like kill Freddy off again after Freddy versus Jason just so Ash could win, and that's why it didn't happen. And I think that they didn't realize that Freddy didn't come back, and that would have been fun. It would have been really fun because we would have had a huge budget. If you guys remember the kinetic, low-budget action that was invented and made Evil Dead so popular. Imagine doing that in 2005, you know, with all of the technology we have available today, you know, the kind of stuff we could have done, the kind of effects you saw in Inception, and some of the new stuff that if you saw Mad Max, Fury Road, to see some of the new stuff in that they're doing. And it would have been great to have that stuff in there with Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, to be able to really, you know, almost make it like some giant Warner Brothers horror cartoon. So it would have been fun, but I think it's as one of my old movies, it was titled, I think it's dead and buried. Next.
I just was a long-time fan of yours, grew up with your movies. Freddy is like one of my personal idols.
So damaged goods, eh? Show me your ink. No, go ahead.
But anyway, it was kind of one of your lesser-known, you were on an episode of my fiance's favorite show, Moines. And I just wanted to know, your janitor, that was the tribute to Freddy.
Well, you know, the idea is on that is, there's a word we use in showbiz called the red herring. And as you guys know, I bring a lot of baggage when you see me show up in a movie or a thing. And we have to, because you guys are wise for us, we know what you know and you expect and anticipate. So we have to play with that a little bit. And I got used for many years from probably the late 90s until about 2010. One of the ways to use me is you put me in certain roles, and I take the pressure off the real bad guy. You think I'm the bad guy. People imagine that I did it, or I'm going to be the villain. And whoever's playing the bad guy then has the pressure taken off. Now, we've reversed cliches in Hollywood, and it's time to change it up even again. If you watch television now, I can always tell who the serial killer is on one of the procedural shows. It's always the good-looking guy now. The new way, it's always the good-looking boy with the 5 o'clock shadow and the long eyelashes. So that's the new cliche now. No longer is it me or somebody with bad skin, you know, or the little nerdy guy playing the bad guy. We want to steer you away from the good-looking guy with the long eyelashes and the 5 o'clock shadow. So we've got to break that. That's the next cliche to break, I think. You know, but Moines was great. You know, they wrote that part for me and they created it, and it was nice because there was a real resolution. At the end of it, you realized that I was the old creepy janitor, but I'm also the guy that discovered Moines, realized her potential, taught her a lot of what she knows, and gave her somewhere to go and do her homework and stuff, because she was like, you know, she was the kid that was bullied in high school. She was tall and geeky and a science major, and nobody liked her. And it's kind of nice to, you know, that there was a real tender moment at the end with Emily and myself. Boy, is she cute. That's the gal you bring home to mom. Oh, she's like Grace Kelly. She's so beautiful. Next question, over here.
Okay, so Freddie has kept millions of people up at night.
Billions! Billions, sir!
So besides fire, what scares Robert Englund or Freddie? What are you afraid of?
Well, I mean, Wes helped me rediscover my fanboy, Wes Craven and Mark Hamill, my old part-time roommate in Hollywood back in the 70s. Mark, you know, would bring over old Famous Monsters magazines. A couple of them actually had letters when he was a little boy that he'd written to Forrest Ackerman in the letters to the editor page. And Mark kind of started me respecting it before I did to Freddie. I was kind of a snob. I was doing A movies in the 70s. Those of you that know my career know I starred with Jeff Bridges and Sally Field and Henry Fonda and Susan Sarandon and Burt Reynolds and Charles Bronson and Peter Strauss and Jan Michael Vincent. Lots of big 70s stars. And I was always playing the best friend and the sidekick and things like that. But Mark kind of got me remembering my childhood. And I remember we used to go to the matinees and see like Dr. Fives movies with Vincent Price. And there was one where he plays the critic. He plays the guy that kills the critics, all the critics in London, the actor who hates critics. It was a great, wonderful, low-budget horror movie. And so then Wes also made me respect the genre. And then with my experience on V, you know, all of my sort of sci-fi fanboy stuff kind of awakened. So I do love the genre stuff, and I do seek it out. I mean, I just saw the Mad Max. Not only 3D, but I went 3D IMAX. I went 3D IMAX with a glass of wine. Give it to me, come on. Give me your popcorn, run over me. What scares me, it's strange. I just saw this film I was just talking about, The Harvest, and Samantha Morton actually got to me a couple of times. And the last episode of Hannibal now is almost pure imagery. Pure imagery. This is network television, and that was actually a sequence, surgical sequence in one of Will's sort of sensitive dream states that kind of got to me. And that works. There's some older films. Brian De Palma film, I was mentioning him as a touchstone for a kind of thriller that I particularly like, and like the Hitchcock thriller, and either the Hitchcock of Torn Curtain or the Brian De Palma of Blowout, or the one that I'm going to mention now that it really gets to me. And I don't know whether it's Siamese twins that get to me. I don't know what it is, but Margot Kidder from Superman, and we all know Brandon is here. Speaking of Superman, but Margot Kidder from the Christopher Reeve Superman did this horror movie for Brian De Palma in 1974 called Sisters. And it is amazing film, brilliantly done, and brilliantly acted, and creepy, and the best mad scientist ever, William Finley. Although, if you guys haven't seen Ex Machina, Oscar Isaacs, the new mad scientist as Steve Jobs. It's great. You got to check it out. Yeah, it's Ex Machina, and you check out the detail on the effects. A great robot, AI, artificial intelligence double bill this summer, you guys. The next time it rains in Des Moines, right, and it's a steamy day, you send out for pizza and a six-pack, and double bill Chappie and Ex Machina. They're really good AI movies. So that scares me. In real life, for a long time, snakes. And then I did a little, when you're a horror actor, sooner or later, if you're a genre star like I am, you do your giant snake movie, you do your giant alligator movie, I've done two. You do your killer bee movie, I've done that one too. And when I did my killer snake movie, my giant snake movie, I was playing the herpetologist. I'm always like the old priest now, or the old professor, or the old doctor, the old expert on snakes. So I was the herpetologist in this one. And I looked like a skinny version of Colonel Sanders. And they gave me a baby python, a baby albino python. I thought, I gotta get over my fear of snakes, because this is going to be so cool to have this prop, and I'm always petting my little baby python. So they put it in a sock on shoelaces sewed into my sport coat under my armpit, because they like the warmth and the moisture there. They like it. They're tropical. Anyway, a week in, I was over my snake phobia, so I'm no longer afraid of snakes. By the way, I began my snake phobia at the Saturday matinee as a kid. I went to the 3 o'clock matinee, and it wasn't the matinee anymore for kids, it was the grown-up movie. And I saw a snake kill a guy in the movie, and oh my God, it was a World War II movie. It just freaked me out for years. I was looking under my bed. God. Anyway, but I'm over my snake phobia now, so I guess the only scares me anymore are questions from a little man butt like you. Next question.
All right, I think the hard-mind character out there with as much imagination as Freddy in the genre of horror, and I'm just wondering if you have any picks, whether it be film, theater, anything out there that you think even comes close to Freddy coming out.
Oh, listen, there's lots of stuff, guys. Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal is way up here, and so is Matt Nicholson's. Leading man, chef, killer, genius, multilingualist. All the levels that they're playing on that are so creepy, and their creepy sense of humor, Anthony Hopkins' sense of humor in Hannibal. I just think that's a brilliant, brilliant performance. There's parts of Frank. I like Frank Langella's Dracula. There's some interesting stuff in that I like. There's lots of characters working. There's some terrific eccentric character actors out there. Bill Moseley, is doing some special work that always surprises me, and I always like it. Help me with his name, you guys. The guy from Pan's Labyrinth, Doug Jones is just a remarkable actor working in the genre. Doug Bradley, Pinhead, has just done some great stuff. And Doug's done some other movies that are wonderful too. I mean, the Freddie character, it's not, I mean, I'd love to take all the credit, you guys. And I take credit for the body language and some of the improvisation of some of the lines.